Chapter 140. You. Yi Shu shook her head helplessly. I don't even know what to say about you. Around 5 o'clock in the evening, Yi Zhao came back with food and a computer. As soon as she entered the ward, she heard Yi Shu and Yisun talking and laughing. Yi Zhao took out the lunchbox and handed it to Yi Senior. Uncle, you must be hungry too. I fried your favorite beef noodles and brought a bowl of soup for you. Yisun smiled and took the lunchbox. My niece is still the best. Of course. Yi Zhao opened another lunchbox. It contained some nourishing soup. Mom, let me feed you. Yi Shu smiled and said, You child. Mom's left hand was injured, not crippled. It's not that serious. Do I need you to feed me? Yes. Yi Zhao scooped a spoonful of soup and brought it to Yi Shu's mouth. I have to feed you. Seeing Yi Zhao like this, Yi Shu could only open her mouth to accept it, her eyes filled with happiness. The patient who had just moved into the next bed said enviously, Big sister, you really raised a good daughter. Not only is she beautiful, but she's also so caring. Unlike my 3 sons, who only know how to make me angry all day. Now, I've broken my leg, and I haven't seen a single one of them. Yi Shu smiled and said, My daughter. There's really nothing bad to say. After feeding Yi Shu the soup, Yi Zhao looked at Yi Senior. Uncle, I'll stay at the hospital with Mom tonight. You should go home and rest. Yisun said, I'll stay. You go back. Don't you know there are differences between men and women? Yi Zhao raised her eyebrows slightly. Yisun was stunned. He could only listen to Yi Zhao and prepared to leave, planning to return the next morning to relieve her. Uncle, I'll walk you down. Yisun was about to say he didn't need to be seen off, he knew the way. But he swallowed his words. Yi Zhao wouldn't walk him down for no reason. She definitely had something to say. Just as Yisun thought, Yi Zhao indeed had something to say. Uncle, I've already checked. Lin Fuhai has been keeping a mistress named Wen Dai. Their son is already 6 years old. Recently, Lin Fuhai is preparing to buy a school district apartment for their son. Really? Yisun looked at Yi Zhao in surprise. His brother-in-law had always acted so self-righteous. He hadn't expected him to do something like keeping a mistress. He didn't know how Yi Zhao found out. Although Yisun was a bit curious, he didn't ask. He always knew his niece wasn't an ordinary person. Yi Zhao nodded and continued, Lin Xiaowei hired a witness to commit perjury when handling a lawsuit. I've sent the evidence to your email. You should know what to do, right? Yi Zhao did not want to let off any of these people from the Yi family. As for Shui Lin, once the Lin family fell, her rich second-generation boyfriend would probably leave her immediately. Yisun nodded, Don't worry, Zhao. I know what to do. The Lin family is settled, what about the Yi family? Don't worry, I won't let them off easy. Yi Zhao narrowed her eyes, a cold glint flashing within. Yisun instructed Yi Zhao, then I'll go back first. Call me if there's anything. Okay, I know. Watching Yisun's back disappear down the road, Yi Zhao turned and walked back towards the hospital. After Yisun returned to the company, he immediately contacted the detective agency and asked them to investigate Lin Fuhai and Wen Dai. Then, he opened his email and organized the evidence Yi Zhao had sent. He anonymously forwarded it to the victim's family. The detective agency was very efficient. The next day, they provided a stack of photos of Lin Fuhai and the mistress. Yisun packaged all these photos and sent them to Yi Shuang. When Yi Shuang received these photos, she was so furious she wanted to stab the adulterous couple to death. Lin Fuhai, you heartless bastard. When I first followed you, you had nothing. Now you dare to betray me. Keeping a mistress was one thing. But now he even had a child. Yi Shuang couldn't care about anything else. She rushed to Wen Dai's address and slammed on the door. If she could, she would have torn the house down. Who is it? Wen Dai came to open the door. Bitch! Slut! Yi Shuang gave Wen Dai a slap. Wen Dai was stunned by the slap. She covered her face and shouted, "Who are you? What right do you have to hit me?" "Because I'm Lin Fuhai's wife." "You bitch. Shameless whore. I'll beat you to death today." Yi Shuang began punching and kicking Wen Dai. Chapter 141. Wen Dai was thin and small. How could she be a match for the tall and strong Yi Shuang? Within seconds, Wen Dai was pinned to the ground by Yi Shuang, her face slapped so hard it soon became swollen like a pig's head. The child, who had been sleeping soundly, was woken up and came out barefoot. He saw Wen Dai being pinned down and beaten. The 6-year-old child was so scared he burst into loud crying. "Mommy! Mommy!" Yi Shuang casually grabbed a cup and threw it at the child. "What are you crying for? Your mother is a shameless bitch. You're not a good thing either." The child cried even harder. "Quickly, go find your grandma," Wen Dai shouted. What did a 6-year-old child know? He was so scared his legs turned to jelly. He stood there, not daring to move. Bang! At this moment, the sound of something heavy hitting the ground suddenly rang out. Yi Shuang looked up and saw an old lady standing at the door. That bang just now was a watermelon the old lady had bought falling to the ground. "Mom?" Yi Shuang looked at her mother-in-law, Zhu Zuihua, in disbelief. "Grandma." When the child saw his grandmother, it was as if he saw his savior and immediately ran over. "Chengye! Chengye, are you okay?" Zhu Zuihua picked up her precious grandson and glared at Yi Shuang. "Why are you here? Get lost." "Mom! You're actually defending this bitch and this bastard child. You knew about this all along." Yi Shuang stood up and questioned her mother-in-law loudly. "You're the bitch. You're the bitch who can't bear a son." Zhu Zuihua hugged Lin Chengye. "If you know what's good for you, get out of here. We'll pretend today never happened. Otherwise, when I get back, I'll have Haifu teach you a lesson." "Mom! How can you do this? I'm your daughter-in-law. I'm Haifu's lawful wife." Yi Shuang had never expected that her mother-in-law, whom she had respected for over 20 years, would treat her like this. Just because she hadn't borne a son for the Lin family? So what? You can't have a son yourself, and you won't let someone else have one for our Haifu? Since you already know, let's be clear. My grandson is named Lin Chengye. He's the one to inherit the family business. Everything of the Lin family will belong to him in the future. If you have the guts, divorce my son." Zhu Zuihua couldn't wait for Yi Shuang to divorce Lin Haifu immediately. Once divorced, Lin Chengye could openly become a descendant of the Lin family. Wen Dai wouldn't have to hide anymore. Yi Shuang looked at Zhu Zuihua like this, her eyes filled with grief. "Mom! What about Xiao Xian and Xiao Shui? Aren't they your granddaughters? If I divorce Haifu, what will happen to them? Those two worthless girls can go with whoever they want." Zhu Zuihua only cared about her grandson. To her, Lin Xian and Lin Shui were just two useless burdens. Ah! Yi Shuang couldn't take it anymore. She sat on the ground and wailed. The 20 years of dedication had finally become a joke. A complete joke. Seizing this opportunity, Wen Dai quickly gave Yi Shuang a few kicks and punches. When Yi Shuang stumbled out of the apartment building again, she was in an extremely wretched state. She thought she might as well die. But on second thought, why should she die? Should she die to make way for that bitch? She couldn't die. She wanted Lin Haifu to pay. She wanted him ruined. To never recover. As a doctor, one shouldn't just have medical ethics. One must also have personal morals and character. Having been Lin Haifu's wife for so many years, Yi Shuang knew many of his secrets. The secrets weren't earth-shattering, but they were enough to ensure he could never recover. After Yi Shuang returned, she gathered the materials in her hands and prepared to send them to Lin Haifu's competitors. At this moment, Lin Haifu returned. Looking at the man who had shared her bed for over 20 years, Yi Shuang's expression softened slightly at this moment. She was thinking. If this man knelt before her with tears in his eyes and begged for forgiveness, she might just forgive him once. But he did not. Not only did Lin Haifu show no remorse, he even slapped Yi Shuang hard across the face. Bitch! Who told you to go looking for Wen Dai? Do you know you scared Chingye half to death? Bitch! If anything happens to Chingye, I won't let you off. After saying that, Lin Haifu turned and left. He didn't even look back. He had long been fed up with Yi Shuang. Yi Shuang was already 56 years old this year. No matter how well she maintained herself, she couldn't compare to the 23-year-old Wen Dai. Moreover, Wen Dai had borne a son for him. Yi Shuang looked at Lin Haifu's retreating back and laughed. Good hit. Lin Haifu. That was a good slap. Ha ha ha. Really good. Lin Haifu's slap severed all affection from the past 20 years at once. Yi Shuang did not hesitate and immediately sent the materials she had gathered to Lin Haifu's competitors. Retribution comes swiftly. The next day, the news of Lin Haifu's infidelity and keeping a mistress became public knowledge. In the hospital, he was like a rat crossing the street, with everyone calling for his dismissal. Not only that, he was also exposed for scandals like arbitrarily inflating patient fees and harassing female patients. As soon as the news broke, he was fired. Of course, what awaited Lin Haifu were lawsuits from the families of many patients. Just as Yi Shuang was gloating over Lin Haifu's punishment, another piece of news shattered her. Lin Xian was detained. She would likely face sentencing. These sudden disasters completely destroyed the Lin family. Yi Shuang's hair turned white overnight. She took out all her savings, ready to risk everything to get Lin Xian out on bail. In just 2 days, Yi Shuang seemed to have aged over 20 years. She dismissed the family's nanny, sold the villa and other properties under her name, and moved from the luxurious villa to a dark basement. At the Yi residence, a knock on the door broke the early morning silence. Lin Xiaowei went to open the door. Who is it? It's so early in the morning. The moment she opened the door, she saw several police officers standing outside. Lin Xiaowei's drowsiness vanished instantly. Officers, who are you looking for? Is this Yi Shuai's residence? Yi Shuai is currently suspected of involvement in a fraud case. Please come with us. Chapter 142. Upon hearing this, Lin Xiaowei was immediately stunned. The little bit of drowsiness she had left vanished completely at that moment. Officer, Lin Xiaowei stuttered, my husband is a decent man and has never done anything illegal. There are so many people with the same name and surname in the world. You must have made a mistake. Comrade, please rest assured, the leading officer took a step forward. We will not wrongly accuse a good person, nor will we let a bad person go. Where is Yi Shuai? Please ask him to come out. He is not at home. Lin Xiaowei blocked the door, not letting the officers in. You should leave quickly. The officer took out a document from his pocket. This is an arrest warrant. Please cooperate with the police and do not obstruct official business. Lin Xiaowei swallowed her saliva. Although she did not want to move aside, she still took a few steps back meekly. Several police officers entered one after another. There was no one in the living room. Only a teenager of about 16 or 17 was sitting on the sofa eating a bun. Where is Yi Shuai? The officer turned to look at Lin Xiaowei. Yi Fei stood up from the sofa and asked with a pale face, what happened to my father? In his son's heart, a father was always a great, mountain-like figure. The police didn't want Yi Fei to see Yi Shuai's wretched state when he was taken away. They said in a calm tone, young man, this matter has nothing to do with you. Please go back to your room. Lin Xiaowei also reacted at this point and pushed Yi Fei away. Go to your grandparents' house. Your father is fine. Don't worry. Mom. I'm fine. I'm really fine. Lin Xiaowei tried her best to calm herself, speaking in a relaxed tone, the police officers are here to talk to your dad about something. Go to your grandparents' house and ask them to come to our place for lunch. Mom will buy your grandma's favorite clams later." Hearing that, Yi Fei let out a sigh of relief. Watching Yi Fei leave. With a bang, Lin Xiaowei closed the door and leaned her back against it. Tears streamed down her face. It wasn't that she didn't know what Yi Shuai had done. What she hadn't expected was that retribution would come so quickly. "Where is Yi Shuai?" The officer in the room brought up the topic again. Lin Xiaowei took a deep breath. She knew she couldn't hide it this time. "He's in the bedroom." The leading officer said to the officer with a buzz cut, "Xiaoyin, take Xiaoli and Xiao Sun in to have a look." "Okay." Xiaoyin nodded. The three officers went to the bedroom. Sure enough, Yi Shuai was lying on the bed, fast asleep. He only opened his bleary eyes when the cold handcuffs were snapped onto his wrists. "Wife, what are you doing?" Yi Shuai was shocked to see that the person standing before him was not Lin Xiaowei but a police officer. His body broke out in a cold sweat. Police officer. This is our police identification and the arrest warrant." "Yi Shuai, come with us." "Officer, I'm innocent. I haven't done anything. What right do you have to arrest me?" Yi Shuai struggled with all his might. "Don't move." Several officers held Yi Shuai down firmly. "Wife! Help me get a lawyer. Get the best lawyer." Lin Xiaowei nodded tearfully as she saw Yi Shuai off at the door. After the police took Yi Shuai away, Lin Xiaowei immediately went to Yi Dafu's place. She was just a woman. Although she was somewhat educated, facing such a big incident, she couldn't manage without a man by her side. When Yao Zuifan heard that her precious eldest son had been taken away by the police, she was so anxious she fainted. "Mom! Grandma!" It was chaos again. Yao Zuifan finally woke up and started wailing the moment she did. "My son, my handsome son! My son! How can your mother live like this?" "Shut up!" Yi Dafu glared at Yao Zuifan and scolded angrily. The old couple had lived together for nearly 40 years. This was the first time Yi Dafu had been so angry at Yao Zuifan. Yao Zuifan immediately stopped crying. She was so scared she didn't dare utter another word. Yi Dafu pointed at Yao Zuifan and scolded angrily, "You old woman, all you know is crying. Even if our Shuai is fine, you'll cry him into trouble." Yao Zuifan sniffled. Yi Dafu turned to look at Lin Xiaowei. "Did Shuai say anything to you before he left?" Lin Xiaowei's eyes were red as she said, Shuai asked me to hire a lawyer for him." "Lawyer?" Yi Dafu frowned and continued, "Isn't Xiao Xian a lawyer? Quickly call Xiao Xian. It's easier with someone in the family." With Lin Xian around, Yi Shuai would definitely be fine. Chapter 143. Hearing this, Lin Xiaowei's eyes turned even redder. Xiao Xian is in custody too. Where is she?" Yi Dafu looked puzzled. Lin Xiaowei told them what had happened. "Big sis was afraid you would worry, so she told us not to tell you. Big brother-in-law was fired by the hospital. Big brother-in-law was fired by the hospital. Their family's villa has been sold, and their car has been repossessed. This was truly a case of misfortunes never coming singly." Yi Dafu's face instantly turned pale. His sadness wasn't because of the sudden downfall of Yi Shuang's family, but because he was worried that without Lin Xian's help, Yi Shuai wouldn't be able to get out. "Then hire a lawyer for Shuai. Get the best lawyer. Oh right. We also need to bribe the right people. Don't worry about the money. If it's really not enough, our family can sell the house." Although the Yi family wasn't particularly wealthy, they still had some savings. After all, when their old house was demolished, they got 5 apartments at once. Now, they lived in 2. 3 more were rented out. Selling 3 apartments could fetch at least 6 or 7 million. Lin Xiaowei wiped her tears. "All right. I'll go now." As long as Yi Shuai could be released safely, she was willing to sell not just 1 apartment, but all of them. Today was the day Yishu was discharged from the hospital. Early in the morning, Yisun arrived with a bouquet of flowers to pick up Yishu. "Sis! Congratulations on being discharged. You're the one with all the tricks." Yishu accepted the flowers with her good hand. Zhuo followed behind, carrying the luggage. Fortunately, it was summer and the clothes were thin, so the mother and daughter didn't have much to carry. "Uncle, are you going on a blind date dressed so sharply today?" Yi-sen, who usually didn't care much for dressing up, was actually wearing a new outfit today, a tailored suit and black leather shoes. Yi-sen had decent looks, and dressed like this, he looked like he was going on a blind date. "Sharp?" Yi-sen took the bag from Zhuo. "Your uncle is naturally handsome, okay?" Yishu, she finally understood why Zhuo always liked to look in the mirror and say, "Why am I so handsome?" As they say, a nephew resembles his uncle. So, this was hereditary. This narcissism didn't come from nowhere. They got into the van and arrived home shortly after. Zhuo found a vase and put the bright red roses in it. The originally tidy living room suddenly had a bouquet of roses, which looked quite striking. The air was filled with the fragrance of the roses. It smelled wonderful. At noon, Zhuo ordered takeout from a restaurant that specialized in healthy food. During the meal, Zhuo tried to tell Yishu about what had recently happened in the Yi family. Mom, Lin Haifu kept a mistress outside and was exposed by Yi Shuang. Now, he's been fired from the hospital. Lin Xian is still in detention for committing perjury. It's very likely she'll be sentenced. Yishu was stunned. Clearly, she hadn't expected such a dramatic downfall for Yi Shuang's family in just a few days. She had seen Yi Shuang just a week ago. At that time, she was still a high and mighty lady. "Mom, if Aunt comes to beg you, will you help her?" Yishu said, "I'm not some big shot. How could I help her? What if she asks you for money?" Zhuo pressed on. Money was easy to handle. Yi Shuang had already moved from the big villa to a basement, in case she came to beg Yishu. Zhuo was afraid Yishu would soften again. No, Yishu's expression was calm. "I have nothing to do with them anymore." After experiencing the pain of losing a finger, Yishu was utterly disillusioned with those so-called relatives. Let each go their own way. Seeing Yishu like this, Zhuo continued, "Also, something happened at home. Yi Shuai is suspected of fraud and has been arrested. They are now trying to sell their house and bribe people to save him." Yishu was stunned again. What a coincidence. Why did everything happen at the same time? And it all happened after she lost her finger? Could it be Zhuo? Thinking this, Yishu felt she was overthinking. No matter how capable Zhuo was, she was only 18 years old. How could an 18-year-old have such power? Yishu looked at Zhuo and said seriously, Zhuo, don't worry. Mom has really let go. From now on, whether that family lives or dies has nothing to do with me." Zhuo nodded slightly. "Mom, I feel much more at ease hearing you say that." "Silly child." After saying that, Yishu continued, Zhuo, Mom wants to ask you something." Chapter 144. Go ahead. Yishu continued, "Do you think it's too late for someone your mother's age to learn English?" "You want to learn English?" Zhuo was a little surprised. She had thought Yishu would ask about the Yi family's situation. It seemed her mother had really moved on. Yishu nodded. She wanted to learn English. In the past, she had never thought English was important. It was only last week when she had a few foreign customers at the restaurant. Facing the foreign customers, she was like an illiterate. She couldn't understand a thing. She couldn't even make out simple words. Luckily, there were 2 foreign language school students sitting at the next table. So, Yishu wanted to use her free time to learn English. Zhuo looked up at Yishu. "Mom, as long as you want to learn, it's never too late, no matter how old you are." "Really?" Yishu was a little surprised. She was already 39. She had thought it was hopeless, but she hadn't expected it was actually possible. Yi Zhao nodded. I'll go to the bookstore to buy some learning materials for you later. Then, I'll look for a foreign tutor online for one-on-one lessons. Okay. After eating, Yi Zhao went to the nearby Xinhua bookstore. She bought some basic textbooks. Then, using an app, she found a very reliable online teaching method. Yi Shu was eager to learn. Not only did she study, but she studied very seriously. Currently, the restaurant wasn't open, and she had nothing to do at home. So, she paid extra to change the schedule from 1 lesson a day to 3 lessons a day. 3 days later, Yi Shu could speak simple conversational English. To learn faster, Yi Shu suggested Yi Zhao also communicate with her in English daily. If she didn't understand something or said something wrong, Yi Zhao could correct her right away. When Yisun came back, he heard Yi Shu talking to Yi Zhao in English. He said in surprise, "Sister, when did you learn English?" "I just started. I only know a little." Zhao is really amazing. Although Yi Shu had just started learning English, she was shocked by Yi Zhao's pronunciation. Yi Zhao's pronunciation was even more standard than the foreign tutors. Yisun asked curiously, "Sister, why are you learning English?" "Because foreign customers often come to the restaurant to eat. English is an international language. There's no harm in learning it." Yi Zhao seized the opportunity to continue, "Why don't you learn too, uncle? Now that the delivery company is doing better and better, one day it'll go international. When that time comes, as the company boss, you can't even speak English." Yisun was very talented in business. In just a few months, he not only brought the company back on track, but also made it flourish. Going international was only a matter of time. "I can hire a translator," Yisun said. Yi Zhao raised her eyebrows slightly. Nowadays, some translators are terrible, and many deliberately twist the facts. Zhao, you're exaggerating." Yisun didn't think much of it. How could I run into such a bad translator? Yisun had always believed that. In this world, there were more good people than bad people. "Uncle, I don't know if you've heard this saying, the business world is like a battlefield. What if the translator is bribed by your competitor and a big contract is snatched away by another company, or important secrets are leaked? What would you do then?" The business world was like a battlefield. The slightest mistake could lead to irreversible loss. What Yi Zhao said wasn't an exaggeration at all. After that, Yi Zhao continued, "Uncle, once you've learned the knowledge, it's yours. No one can take it away from you. Besides, it won't take much of your time. You just need to spend 1 or 2 hours a day learning it." Hearing this, Yisun wavered. He suddenly felt what Yi Zhao said made sense. If the translator he hired was a corporate spy, it would be too late for regrets. Some things needed to be guarded against. His eldest niece was still the best. She knew so much at such a young age. Many times, Yisun even felt he wasn't Yi Zhao's uncle. Yi Zhao seemed more like his elder. Zhao, why don't you make an appointment with a foreign tutor for me too?" Yisun said. Yi Zhao smiled slightly. "Uncle, have you thought it through?" Yisun nodded. "I have." Yi Zhao went back to her room and took out a few books for Yi Senior. "These are the books I bought for Mom last time. I specially bought an extra set for you to read. I'll send you the contact details of the foreign tutor in a bit. You can talk to him yourself." Chapter 145. Okay. Yisun took the book with both hands. After flipping through a few pages, Yisun continued, "Niece, guess what I saw downstairs just now?" "What?" Yi Zhao asked. Yisun said, "I saw a top-tier luxury car. A Silby. And it's a limited edition. What's so strange about that?" Yi Zhao said casually. "Do you know how much a Silby costs?" "How much?" Yi Zhao asked cooperatively. "I'll scare you to death if I tell you." After saying that, Yisun made a 10 with both hands. 100 million. Oh. Yi Zhao said casually. Oh? Yi Sun looked at Yi Zhao in surprise. 100 million in exchange for Yi Zhao's casual oh. Wasn't she surprised? This was 100 million. Not 10 yuan. Yi Zhao raised her eyelids and glanced at Yi Sun, her tone flat. I know, don't worry. I'll buy 10 for you in the future. Yi Sun. He suspected his niece was bragging, but he had no proof. Yi Sun continued, there's only one reason a luxurious car like a Silby would appear in our rundown neighborhood. Ha! Yi Zhao raised her eyebrows slightly. Yi Sun looked as if he knew everything. The guy in the car must be some domineering CEO or business tycoon. His little mistress lives in our neighborhood. Today, he had a fight with his little mistress. Yi Sun was completely immersed in his own storyline. Wake up, uncle. There aren't so many stories about domineering CEOs and little mistresses in the real world. Yi Zhao heartlessly interrupted Yi Sun's imagination. Night gradually fell, and the hazy night sky shrouded a luxurious sports car. Under the streetlights, it was clear this was a limited edition Silby sports car. There were fewer than 10 in the world. The window was open. From the outside, one could see the man's sharply defined profile. The dim light cast a gauzy veil over his face, making his already somewhat indistinct features even more blurred. He was wearing a plain-colored robe, with a string of dark red Buddhist prayer beads between his fingers. His hand rested casually on the window as he gently stroked the beads. The dark red beads stood out starkly against his pale fingers. Music flowed within the car. Through the window, one could faintly hear passages from the Great Compassion Mantra. After a long while, the man finally withdrew his hand and used the one holding the beads to pick up the lighter. Click! A faint blue flame shot from the man's fingertips, illuminating his exquisite profile. If this wasn't Sun Shaoqing, who else could it be? He didn't quite understand what was happening to him either. He had just returned to Yun City today. Almost as soon as he got off the plane, he drove here as if possessed. After parking the car, his restless heart suddenly calmed at this moment. The scene of playing chess with Yi Zhao flashed in his mind. Her voice still echoed in his ears. She had said, "You're too dumb. Losing to me is normal. Don't take it to heart. Life is like chess, chess is like life. Never be deceived by false appearances. One wrong move, and the whole game is lost. Mr. Sun, thank you for letting me win." Thinking of this, Sun Shaoqing slowly exhaled a puff of smoke. His eyes narrowed slightly, their deep depths pitch black. Like a bottomless well. This was Yi Zhao's home. The spot where he parked was directly below the apartment building where Yi Zhao lived. Could it be, he had fallen for Yi Zhao? No! Impossible! How could he fall for a little girl? He merely admired Yi Zhao. Admired her chess skills. Admired her technological talent. Admired her breadth of knowledge. He had never been close to a woman in his life. Suddenly being so near a little girl, he felt a strange sensation in his heart. In time, he would get used to it. It had nothing to do with love. Nor was it romantic affection. Thinking this, Sun Shaoqing let out a sigh of relief. He extinguished the half-smoked cigarette and discarded the butt. Flick. It seemed a casual toss, but the cigarette landed in a trash can 10 meters away. The car window rolled up, completely sealing the man's handsome, cold face behind the glass. The man held the prayer beads in one hand and placed the other on the steering wheel. He looked ahead and started the engine. The black car drove off, leaving only dust on the ground. When the dust settled, everything returned to normal. Who would have noticed that not long ago, a luxury car had been parked here for nearly an hour? The Yi residence. In the following days, whenever Yi Shu and Yi Sun had free time, they would study English. Chapter 146. The daily communication among the family of three was entirely in English. What happened back at the Yi family home did not have any substantial impact on them. On the 11th day of the Lunar New Year, Lin Zhe secretly bought a plane ticket to Yun City. Originally, He had planned to come to Yun City on the 8th day of the new year. But he was delayed by some matters. He brought nothing but a cell phone, a laptop, and a few changes of clothes. The temperature difference between Yun City and the capital was very large. The coldest it got in the capital was around -18 degrees Celsius. The coldest it got in Yun City was 1 or 2 degrees Celsius. Although Yun City's temperature wasn't as low as the capital's. This kind of cold in Yun City was different from the capital's. Yun City was a dry cold. As soon as he got off the plane, Lin Zhe shivered. Yun City was a very unfamiliar place for Lin Zhe. He took out his phone, found the location of the hotel, and then Lin Zhe hailed a taxi. The driver was a talkative middle-aged man. He saw Lin Zhe's attire in the rearview mirror and asked, "Young man, are you from out of town?" "Yes," Lin Zhe nodded. "Where are you from then?" the middle-aged driver asked. "The capital," Lin Zhe answered. The middle-aged driver said in surprise, "The capital is thousands of kilometers from here. The flight takes over 4 hours. Young man, are you here to see the sights in Yun City?" Yun City was a tourist city, but there wasn't much to see in winter. Usually, there were more visitors in spring, summer, and autumn. No, Lin Zhe couldn't quite describe the feeling he had stepping onto Yun City's soil. "I'm here to find my mother." At this moment, was he breathing the same air as his mother? Would he be able to see his mother as he wished on this trip? Lin Zhe leaned back against the seat. Ignoring the cold, he rolled down the car window and took a deep breath of the chilly air. "Young man, are you carsick?" the driver asked. Lin Zhe didn't deny it. "Yes." The driver continued, "Young man, is your mother from Yun City?" Probably, Lin Zhe's voice was very faint. The driver smiled and said, "You don't even know where your mother is from?" Lin Zhe shook his head gently. "I've never seen my mother since I was little." The driver was stunned. The smile on his face froze at the corner of his mouth. He turned to look at Lin Zhe and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, young man." "It's okay." The driver continued, "Young man, don't lose heart. Uncle believes that one day you will find your mother. By the way, what's your mother's name?" "I've been driving a taxi in Yun City for 20 years. Tell me, maybe I know her." "I don't know." "Ah." The driver was stunned. He continued, "Then do you have a photo of your mother?" Lin Zhe shook his head. "You've never seen your mother since you were little?" the driver asked softly. Lin Zhe nodded. How pitiful. Such a young kid. The driver sighed inwardly. "Then why did you come alone? Where's your father?" "He's critically ill." The expression on the driver's face grew even more solemn. There were no clues at all. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Before Lin Zhe got out of the car, the driver uncle told him, "Young man, although Yun City is a good place, there are a lot of scammers. When you're out alone, you must be careful not to get cheated. Uncle wishes you find your mother soon. And have a family reunion." "Thank you." Lin Zhe handed the money to the middle-aged driver and took the chance to bow slightly. This kid really knows his manners. The middle-aged driver sighed to himself. Capital City. Feng Qianhua made some handmade snacks and had Feng Qianqian take them over to Lin Zhe. Although she no longer intended to ingratiate herself with Lin Zhe, she still had to put on a show. Feng Qianqian said, "Lin Zhe isn't home." "Not home." Feng Qianhua continued, "Where did he go?" "I think he went to High City for a vacation." Feng Qianqian didn't take this matter seriously. Go to High City for a vacation? School was about to start soon. Why would Lin Zhe go to High City for a vacation? Lin Zhe had been quiet and introverted since childhood. He didn't talk much and was very much like Lin Jincheng. There's no way he would just go on a vacation. Feng Qianhua instinctively felt there must be something wrong. She immediately put down the snacks and went upstairs. Upstairs, she made a call. "Hello, check Lin Zhe's recent whereabouts for me." "Okay." The waiting time was agonizing. The longer there was no reply, the more uneasy Feng Qianhua felt. Chapter 147. Mom. Just then, there was a knock on the door. What's the matter? Feng Qianhua frowned slightly. Feng Qianqian continued, Mom, the nourishing soup downstairs is ready. You can send it to Grandma Lin now. Only then did Feng Qianhua remember about the soup. Although Lin Zai's matter was important, the soup was more important. I'm coming. Feng Qianhua hurried downstairs and took the soup to the Lin family home. She arrived at the Lin residence. Old Mrs. Lin was still waiting for Feng Qianhua at the door. Aunt Lin. Qianhua is here. As long as she saw Feng Qianhua, the gloom on old Mrs. Lin's face would disappear completely. It's cold. Feng Qianhua held the soup in one hand and helped old Mrs. Lin straighten her down jacket with the other. Don't wait for me outside. Your health is already weak. If something happens because of me, I'd be guilty forever. Nothing will happen from standing for just a while, old Mrs. Lin said with a smile. My heart is only at ease when I see you here. Auntie Zhang said from the side, people who don't know would think you and Miss Qianhua are mother and daughter. In other families, even mothers and daughters aren't this close. Auntie Zhang had always been good at reading the room. She knew exactly when to say what. She knew what old Mrs. Lin liked to hear. Old Mrs. Lin said, You're right. In my eyes, Qianhua is my own daughter. After helping old Mrs. Lin sit down inside the house and watching her drink the soup, Feng Qianhua casually mentioned, Why didn't I see Ya Zai today? He went to High City for a vacation, old Mrs. Lin answered. Feng Qianhua looked at old Mrs. Lin and continued, I remember that child Zai doesn't seem to like traveling much. Let him be. Let him be. Old Mrs. Lin waved her hand. That child was grown up now. She couldn't control him anymore. Feng Qianhua didn't say anything more. A faint gleam flashed in her eyes. Yun City. After staying in a hotel for one night, Lin Zai set out the next day to find his mother. He knew nothing. There were no clues. Standing on the busy street, he suddenly felt a moment of despair. His gaze fell on a mother and son. The boy looked about 17 or 18, around his own age. Mom, what are we eating tonight? Stir-fry a couple of dishes and steam a fish, his mother replied. Fish again? I don't want it. If you don't want it, cook for yourself. Eating fish helps you grow taller and makes your brain smarter. Look how dumb you are now. The mother and son walked further away. Lin Zai's eyes gradually grew moist. Mom! He suddenly shouted into the crowd. Mom! No one responded. Mom, where are you? Lin Zai clutched his head, squatted on the ground, and cried loudly. He didn't dare to cry when he was in the capital. He was afraid the people around him and old Mrs. Lin would overthink things. Only in this unfamiliar place did he dare to let go like this. Passers-by looked at him with puzzled expressions. Little brother, are you okay? A male voice sounded in his ear. At the same time, a hand patted his shoulder. Lin Zai looked up and saw a delicate and handsome face. The man was about 35 or 36. Dressed in a suit and leather shoes. He looked like a successful person. Lin Zai wiped his eyes. I'm fine. Yisun handed him a tissue. A man should stand tall. Don't cry so easily. Here, wipe your face. Thank you, uncle. Lin Zai took the tissue from Yisun. Yisun looked at the young man before him who lowered his head to wipe away tears. He suddenly thought of himself, kicked out of the house many years ago. Little brother, how about we go for a drink? Yisun continued. Lin Zai looked up at Yisun in surprise. There's a restaurant right there. Don't worry, uncle isn't a bad guy, Yisun pointed to the restaurant beside them. Lin Zai didn't have the habit of eating with strangers. But facing this man, he couldn't bring himself to refuse. It was a very strange feeling. Yisun also got a clear look at Lin Zai's face. He frowned slightly. Why did he feel this kid looked somewhat familiar? If not for his strict self-discipline, he would have suspected this was his own illegitimate child. Looking at Lin Zhe, Yisun couldn't help but think of a romance novel he'd read before. The cold CEO's wife ran away with his baby. Chapter 148. Unfortunately, he was no domineering CEO and had never had a one-night stand with anyone. Lin Zhe followed Yisun to the small restaurant. Yisun ordered a bottle of white wine for himself and a glass of juice for Lin Zhe. "You're just a kid. It's the time for you to grow. You can't drink alcohol recklessly." "Oh." Lin Zhe nodded. No one had ever said such things to him since he was little. Grandma was old. Besides telling him to accept Feng Qianhua, she had little else to say. His father was always either at the hospital or in his office. After the dishes were served, Yisun poured himself a glass of wine. "Can you tell uncle why you were crying?" Lin Zhe took a sip of juice, trying hard to suppress the bitterness in his heart. He struggled for a while but still couldn't get the words out. "It's okay if you don't want to say. Let's eat." Yisun picked up a chicken drumstick with his chopsticks and put it in Lin Zhe's bowl. Looking at the drumstick in his bowl, Lin Zhe said hoarsely, "I can't find my mother." After all, he was only a 19-year-old boy. No matter how strong and unyielding he appeared, he was still just a teenager. He also had a vulnerable side. Don't cry." Yisun was startled and quickly stood up to wipe Lin Zhe's tears. "Did you get separated from your mother?" Lin Zhe shook his head. "Did your dad divorce your mom?" Lin Zhe still shook his head. "Then what happened?" Lin Zhe took a deep breath and drank some juice. "I was raised by my grandmother. I've never seen my mother since I was little. My grandmother said she's dead, but I don't believe it. She can't be dead. She must still be alive. He hadn't even gotten to see her. How could she be dead?" Yisun roughly understood the situation and patted Lin Zhe's shoulder. "Don't cry. As long as you're sure she's still alive, you'll find her one day." "Right. Do your grandmother and the others know you came out looking for your mother?" Lin Zhe shook his head. "I told them I went to High City for a vacation. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let me come." The word mother was like a taboo in the Lin family. No one could mention it. Yisun sighed. "Little brother, what's your name? How about this, leave me your phone number. I'm a local of Yun City. If I hear any news about your mother, I'll call you." Lin Zhe gave his phone number. "My name is Lin Zhe. Zhe as in the Zhe, in Chuan Zhe. Lin Zhe." Yisun looked up at Lin Zhe and continued, "My name is Yi Senator Sen as in forests. You can call me Uncle Yi." Meanwhile, in the capital, Feng Qianhua stood on the balcony to answer the phone. Suddenly, her expression changed. "What did you say?" "Yun City. He went to Yun City." If Lin Zhe went to Yun City, then those secrets could no longer be hidden. Feng Qianhua's heart was filled with unprecedented panic. Could her 18 years of effort just go down the drain like that? No. She refused. "Don't panic. Lin Zhe has no clues right now. He won't be able to find Yi Shu," the person on the phone continued. "Our top priority is to get the Lin family to call Lin Zhe back immediately. If this continues, something will go wrong sooner or later." "I understand." Feng Qianhua hung up and went to the Lin residence. "Aunt Lin. Something terrible happened. What's wrong? Why are you so flustered?" Old Mrs. Lin put down the ginseng soup in her hand. Feng Qianhua continued, "Xianxian's classmate just told her that Zhe didn't go to High City at all." "Aunt Lin, are you sure Zhe went to High City?" Old Mrs. Lin nodded. "That's what he told me. Could something have happened on the way?" Old Mrs. Lin frowned. "Where's the butler?" "Butler, quickly check on the young master's whereabouts." The butler immediately sent people to investigate. After a while, they found Lin Zhe's whereabouts. The butler's expression was somewhat strange. "Old madam, The young master, he. What about him? Old Mrs. Lin asked impatiently. The butler continued, he went to Yun City. Yun City? Old Mrs. Lin was stunned on the spot. Why did Lin Zhe go to Yun City? Was he going to look for Yi Shu? This ungrateful child. She had raised him with so much effort, and he went to look for that promiscuous woman, Yi Shu, without even saying a word. Did he still have his grandmother in his heart? Ungrateful wretch. Ungrateful wretch. Old Mrs. Lin slammed the table and stood up in anger. Aunt Lin, don't be angry. Feng Qianhua quickly stood up to support old Mrs. Lin. Zhe is just a child. What does he know? Or maybe he just went to Yun City to play. Old Mrs. Lin didn't directly answer Feng Qianhua. Instead, she said to the butler, arrange for someone immediately to bring that wretch back from Yun City. Yes, old madam. The butler immediately made arrangements. Watching the butler leave, old Mrs. Lin sat back in her chair and couldn't stop coughing violently. Feng Qianhua patted old Mrs. Lin's back to calm her. Aunt Lin, perhaps Zhe just misses his mother. You mustn't get angry. That promiscuous woman, is she worthy of being Zhe's mother? Old Mrs. Lin couldn't contain her anger. Back then, he was only this big, like a little kitten. I worked so hard to raise him. If it weren't for me, would he even be alive today? Thinking of those past events, old Mrs. Lin was filled with rage. She was angry at Lin Zhe for being so unreasonable. She was angry at Yi Shu for being promiscuous. Feng Qianhua continued, Zhe is still young. When he grows up and becomes more sensible, he'll understand how hard it was for you. Grow up. How much more does he need to grow? Old Mrs. Lin looked at Feng Qianhua. He's already 19. He's about to go to university. Qianhua, tell me, how much more does he need to grow before he understands? Chapter 149. A 19-year-old. In an ordinary family, he would have long been the pillar of the household. But Lin Zhe was still so immature. Old Mrs. Lin's eyes were filled with anger. Feng Qianhua continued to comfort old Mrs. Lin. Aunt Lin, some children mature early, some mature late. Don't be too anxious. Zhe will be sensible one day. It would have been fine if Feng Qianhua hadn't said this, but her words made old Mrs. Lin feel even worse. One day, Lin Zhe will grow up. But when will that day be? When will Lin Zhe mature? What if it's not until I'm gone? Thinking of this, old Mrs. Lin's eyes filled with sorrow as she grasped Feng Qianhua's hand, sighing, I don't expect much now. I only hope you can give me a grandson. Zhe is the only child of Jincheng now. Zhe is naive and doesn't understand the dangers of the world. A hint of shyness appeared in Feng Qianhua's eyes. Aunt Lin. What's there to be shy about? I'm not an outsider. Feng Qianhua continued, Aunt Lin, you know this kind of thing requires mutual willingness. Jincheng only has Yi Shu in his heart. Actually, as long as I can see Jincheng live happily, I'm content. That bitch doesn't deserve it. Old Mrs. Lin said fiercely. Feng Qianhua sighed and tried to speak up for Yi Shu, but old Mrs. Lin seemed to see through her thoughts. Qianhua, you don't need to defend her. I know very well what kind of person Yi Shu is. Hearing this, Feng Qianhua had no choice but to change the subject. Aunt Lin, the plum blossoms in the garden have been blooming beautifully these days. Shall we go admire them? All right. Old Mrs. Lin nodded. The red plum blossoms in the garden were like fire, adorning the white snow. Such a beautiful scene made people involuntarily gasp in admiration. Yun City. At the small restaurant, with Yi Sen's guidance, Lin Zhe's mood improved significantly. Yi Sen was worried this kid wouldn't be able to pull himself together. So, he took him back to the hotel he was staying at, and the two added each other on WeChat. Zhe, my place is nearby. I've already sent you the address on WeChat. If you're feeling down, you can ask me out for a drink, or you can come to my place for a home-cooked meal. Thank you, Uncle Yi. Lindsay bowed deeply to him. You're welcome. Yisun patted Lindsay's shoulder. Everyone has their highs and lows. Hurry up and go inside. Lindsay turned and entered the hotel. Yisun watched him go in before leaving. Lindsay. Yisun whispered the name, feeling a bit strange. He didn't know why, but he felt Lindsay was very familiar. As if he really were a long-lost relative. Was it an illusion? Yisun frowned and didn't dwell on it further. The Lin family acted very swiftly. 4 hours later, they arrived in Yun City. It was 9 o'clock at night. The butler brought a few bodyguards and went straight to Lindsay's hotel. Knock, knock, knock. The butler began knocking on the door. Lindsay frowned slightly. Who could it be at this hour? Normally, the hotel wouldn't disturb guests so late at night. Therefore, this definitely wasn't hotel staff. Lindsay quickly picked up his laptop, pressed the mouse with one hand and operated the keyboard with the other. Soon, he hacked into the hotel's internal system and turned on the surveillance camera in the hallway. The person outside the door was indeed not hotel staff. It was the butler. Why was the butler here? Lindsay narrowed his eyes. Grandma must have found out about his itinerary. He had just arrived in Yun City, and the butler had followed him. What did this mean? It meant his mother must be in Yun City. Hearing this news, Lindsay was overjoyed. This trip wasn't in vain. Although he hadn't found his mother, coming to Yun City wasn't a waste. Lindsay restored his computer to its original state and went to open the door. Young master. The butler bowed respectfully. Grandpa Butler, why are you here? Lindsay asked in surprise. The butler said, Young master, the old madam is very angry. Please come back with us. Why is Grandma angry? Lindsay was somewhat confused. The butler looked at Lindsay with a complicated expression. Young master, please. Lindsay continued, wait a moment. I need to pack my things. The butler glanced at the bodyguards behind him. Just let them pack. Then I'll get my phone and computer. Lindsay walked into the room. When he came back out, he had a phone and a computer in his hands. Chapter 150. His computer was very light. It weighed almost nothing in his hands. Grandpa Butler, can you tell me why Grandma suddenly wants me back? The butler turned to look at Lindsay. Young master, do you really not know? I don't. Lindsay shook his head in confusion. He acted as if he knew nothing at all. The Lin family had their own private jet. After arriving at the airport, the plane flew directly to the capital. On the way, Lindsay's expression remained unchanged. He had been fiddling with his computer. When they returned to the capital, it was already past 1 in the morning. The Lin family mansion was brightly lit. Lindsay had just walked into the hall. A cup flew toward him. Bang! The cup fell to the ground and shattered in front of him. Lindsay narrowed his eyes and continued walking inside. He saw old Mrs. Lin sitting angrily on the sofa, her face dark. What's wrong, Grandma? Lindsay walked over with a smile and sat down beside old Mrs. Lin. Who upset our matriarch? Talk! Old Mrs. Lin's face was icy. Where did you go? Lindsay didn't hide it. I went to Yun City. Why did you go to Yun City? Old Mrs. Lin couldn't contain her anger. Do you even have your grandmother in your eyes? He had grown wings. Now he even dared to run off to Yun City behind her back. The next step would be to bring that bitchy Shu back, wouldn't it? Lindsay was stunned. He frowned and said, Grandma, what are you talking about? I just went to Yun City with my classmates to have fun. Why does that mean I don't see you as my grandma? Can't I go to Yun City? Didn't you say you were going to High City? Old Mrs. Lin stared at Lindsay. Lindsay explained, originally, we were going to High City, but my classmates said the fairy peak in Yun City is the #1 mountain in the world. Plus, he has relatives there, so he changed his mind at the last minute and we went to Yun City instead. Grandma, we went to Fairy Peak yesterday afternoon. It's so beautiful. We even took photos. See if it looks good. With that, Lindsay took out a photo. The background of the photo was Fairy Peak, a famous scenic spot in Yun City. Looking at the photo, old Mrs. Lin's frown eased a bit. Was this child really just going to Yun City for sightseeing? Had she misunderstood? But it made sense. No one in the family had ever told Lindsay anything about Yishu. Without a reason. How could this child know Yishu was in Yun City? Maybe she was just being too sensitive. Who is this? Old Mrs. Lin pointed at a stranger in the photo and asked. Lindsay introduced, "This is my classmate's relative. This is my classmate's cousin, this is my classmate, and this is my classmate's relative's classmate." Old Mrs. Lin nodded. She had some impression of this classmate of Lindsay's. His family background wasn't bad. Though it couldn't compare to the Lin family, in the capital, his family could be counted among the top. Old Mrs. Lin didn't object to Lindsay associating with this classmate. After that, Lindsay continued, "Grandma, why did you suddenly have the butler call me back? Is there something urgent?" An awkward smile appeared on old Mrs. Lin's face. "Nothing urgent. I was just worried something might happen to you. Didn't you say you were going to High City? You suddenly went to Yun City. Grandma was afraid you'd be tricked." Lindsay said guiltily, "That's my fault. I got so carried away when I saw Fairy Peak that I forgot everything. I should have told you in advance. Oh, Grandma, I also bought you a string of light-exposed crystal prayer beads. The monk at Fairy Peak said these beads are especially good for the elderly, bringing peace and blessings. See if you like them." With that, Lindsay took a small wooden box from his backpack. This string of crystal beads indeed came from Fairy Peak. But it wasn't bought by Lindsay at Fairy Peak. Because Lindsay had never been to Fairy Peak. He had photoshopped the photos. Both the crystal prayer beads and the photos were prepared by Lindsay in advance. Just in case. He hadn't expected them to come in handy. Ever since he saw how Feng Qianhua and Feng Qianqian treated old Mrs. Lin, Lindsay knew he had to put on a good show for his grandmother. After all, Feng Qianqian could make her smile with 3 pairs of insoles costing 10 yuan. It turned out that he had done the right thing. This was a very effective move with old Mrs. Lin. Lindsay narrowed his eyes.